Hello everyone, myself Dr. Smita. Today we will be seeing fabrication of Z-spring, also known as double cantilever spring. Double cantilever spring is used for the buccolingual movement of anterior teeth, and it is also used for the correction of minor rotations. The armamentarium required for the fabrication of Z-spring are 0.5 mm stainless steel wire, then Adams plier, universal plier, marking pencil, mechanical pencil and wire cutter. Okay, so now we will start with the fabrication of Z-spring. So for fabrication of Z-spring, we divide the tooth, palatal surface of tooth in 3 equal parts. So the first line divides the palatal surface in incisal third and the middle third, and the second line divides middle third and the cervical third. So Z-spring should contact the tooth at the junction of the incisal third and middle third, and Z-spring should be perpendicular to the palatal surface of the tooth. So we'll start preparing the Z-spring. So we have to take the 0.5 mm stainless steel wire. Roughly we should take 5 to 6 cm of the wire. Then with the help of Adams plier, we should roughly straighten this wire to relieve the stresses in the wire. You can see the wire is roughly straightened now to relieve the stresses. So now we will start preparing the spring. First we have to give a small bend at the starting point of the spring, and then we have to close it tightly like this. So this bend is this free end of the spring is given a loop and it is closed tightly to reduce any trauma to the soft tissues and hard tissue while removal and insertion of the appliance. Okay. Then we have to keep our wire on the palatal surface at the junction of middle and incisal third, and the width of the spring should be equal to the mesiodistal width of the tooth. So the first helix we will prepare the first helix at the other end of the spring, which is mesiodistal width of the tooth. We have to mark there, and just remember the first helix of the spring should be here, and this is the active arm of the spring, and the first helix should go above the active arm of the spring. Okay, the first helix should go above the active arm. The helix should be uniform and it should be 2 mm in diameter, and there are 2 helices. So we'll start preparing the helix now. Don't take out the wire from the plier while preparing the helix. You have to move the plier along the helix, and the helix should be closed. The helix is 2 mm in diameter, and the active arm is below, and this helix is above the active arm. It is 2 mm in diameter, and it is closed helix. There is no gap between the parts of the helix, and it is uniformly done. Okay, now we will check the mesiodistal width of the spring. The spring is equal to the mesiodistal width of the tooth, the lateral incisor. then we have to make the active arm and the intermediate arm parallel to each other. This is the active arm of the spring and this is the intermediate arm of the spring. So we are going to make both the arms parallel to each other. Like this. Okay. And then the second helix lies at this point. At this point. If you want to see on the cast, the second helix is on the intermediate arm, and it should be below the intermediate arm of the spring. Below the intermediate arm of the spring, and it should be given with at the mesodistal width of the tooth. So this first helix is done on the distal side of the tooth. So the second helix is given on the mesial side of the tooth. We will prepare the second helix. We have to hold the wire tightly in the plier. And without taking out the wire, the second helix should be below the intermediate arm. Now you can see this is the intermediate arm and the second helix is below the arm. The diameter, internal diameter of this helix is also 2 mm. Both the helices are uniform, they are closed and they are symmetrical. So both should be identical in size. Okay. So this again I will repeat. This is the active arm, this is the first helix, this is the intermediate arm, this is the second helix, and this is the retentive arm. Okay. So now we will check the Z spring by keeping on the cast. This is the active arm which is in the contact with the tooth. This is the first helix, this one is the intermediate arm, this is the second helix, and this is the retentive arm. So the retentive arm should be given a 90-degree bend at the middle of the mesodistal diameter width of the tooth. So you can see so it should be given a bend at the 90-degree bend. So this is the 90-degree bend of the active retentive arm. And then we have to cut the excess of this. Retentive arm is quite big, so we have to cut the excess. The retentive arm is roughly 12 to 15 mm. So I'll mark here. Cut the excess. Then we have to give a loop at the end of the retentive arm. So as you can see, the spring is touching the palatal surface of the lateral incisor in perpendicular manner. Okay. Then we have to give a small bend on the retentive arm, suppose 1 millimeter from the 90-degree bend, 1 millimeter away from the 90-degree bend which we have given earlier. We can hold here with the universal plier, and then we can give a downward bend, slightly downward bend. Make the spring perpendicular. So this is how your Z spring should look like. It's touching the lateral incisor or the tooth to be moved in the buccal direction at in the perpendicular manner. The active arm is in contact with the tooth. Then there are two helices, intermediate arm, which are connected by the intermediate arm. This is the retentive arm. Retentive arm is perpendicular, is bent at the perpendicular direction, 90-degree angle. And this is the tagum. This is the tagum. Tagum is roughly 12 to 15 millimeter in length. And when you have to activate the Z spring, that time you need to activate by opening these two helices. Okay, by opening the helices. So I hope you enjoy this video. Have a nice day.